thought I'd jump in for a new blog post today. Quick update. These videos take a lot longer to edit than I thought they would. So while I would like to post weekly, I do want to be realistic about my limitations with work and studying and writing for the program and my own personal life if I had one. So I will do as much as I can that feels honoring to the mental and physical load I'm carrying elsewhere. So back to the story. Where did I leave off? I left off about Canlis. Let me paint you a picture here. When I started at Canlis, I started as a kitchen server. There are 3 levels of servers. There's kitchen server, which are basically just running food and you're kind of keeping tabs on the kitchen. There's back server, which is where I am now. Pretty much in charge of keeping the tables clean, making sure that there's proper silverware and glassware and everything for each course that comes through because we do a 4-course menu. And then there's lead server, who is in charge of taking the menu, orders, keeping tabs on allergies, sort of making the connection with the guest. I don't know if I ever will have the capacity to be a lead. There's so much that you need to know as a lead. I don't know if I love food and wine and cocktails enough, but I love where I am, and I love the leads and have serious respect for what they do. When I started as a kitchen server, my shift was from 3:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. 5 days a week. In Chicago, I was a nanny from 7 a.m. till about 6 p.m. at night. Very different schedule. The result of this flip-flop, I was sleeping in a lot. That turned into sleeping all day. I hit the snooze button a lot. I was also grieving the guy that I ended a relationship with. Without that person, without someone to check in during the day, I began dreaming about him, and honestly, I wanted to stay dreaming rather than be awake and not have anyone to talk to. That was so hard. But then I began having nightmares about him or about my past more frequently. It became apparent that I was beginning to experience anxiety about the first weekend, and because of all the nightmares, I found a counselor, and her name is Gwen. She was incredible. Within the first session, I basically word vomited all of this trauma. I knew it was coming, when you feel that in your throat. Honestly, it was a subconscious way not to lose it or word vomit in my first group. So, did that to her. Thank you, Gwen. Well, back at Canlis, there are a lot of things that happened in the first couple weeks. One of them was meeting my best friend, Soleil Roth. She is just a ball of energy and adventure. My entire experience here has basically been with a few females. She's one of them. She's one of the great ones, man. I hope that you meet her. She's freaking awesome, and you can see her on my Instagram. Another thing that happened in the first 2 days that I was there, I met some coworkers who went to the Seattle school and had an idea of what I was in for. All of the boomerangs from grief to joy and joy to grief. They offered space for me to do my work, to not have to talk about it at work, and an outlet if I needed to talk. How are you? Oh, don't even worry about it. No. That was really nice because, honestly, with the books that I was reading, they are heavy and exhausting and super intense. One of them that I am reading at this very moment is called Healing the Wounded Heart. This is about sexual abuse. These books take you on a ride. Canlis was a really good outlet. Number one, it offered an alternate point of focus and almost rest from the deep and the heavy. Learning the menu, the service, and the details, it kind of kept my mind in another place for a good 6 hours so that I could kind of decompress from all of the really intense and traumatic information that I was learning outside of work. Number 2, it was exercise. Running around for 7 hours a day can really set off some endorphins. And honestly, at the end of the night, just like hopping around, doing the thing. To have my endorphins kind of set off, especially during work, is a highlight. Number 3, they have standards around leaning into conflict and working into tension rather than around it. They encourage you to go after that, to name when you've been hurt or let down. I mean, I've worked places where I can be fun and goofy, but I don't actually trust anyone there. This place is a beautiful median of both. I just love this place. I don't know how long I will be working here, but the benefits that you get, the friendships and the relationships that you bond so tightly with. I could be making a commercial for Canlis right now. It's super team focused. I love the management and the owners. I mean, they just radiate humility. Canlis can have a platform in Seattle as like, could you pass the pepper? But the management, it totally trickles from the top down. And they just have a heart to see people well. Not just like mirrored what the Seattle School and the Allender Center was doing. Like this perfect fit coming together. Switching over, in my free time, which wasn't a lot, I was binge watching The Phantom of the Opera. Okay, if you haven't heard the story of Phantom of the Opera, it's basically about this deformed child who was abused, and so he was hidden underneath this opera house, and this other girl obviously also was taken as an orphan into the opera house. Then she gets to be big in the opera house, and this other guy, who is like Mr. Prince Charming, kind of comes after her. I don't have anything against Prince Charming because I see the like good qualities, but I also think that some of the things that he offers her at the end, I'll be the one to hide you, not realistic, because only God. She chooses Prince Charming and not this guy because he's, well, 1, he's kind of insane, and 2, he has so much self-contempt that it like bleeds into other contempt, and there's just so much shame that he hasn't named or dealt with, and therefore he can't love her well. The reason I was binge watching it was because it mirrored a lot of the grief that I felt over the relationship that I had with this guy. It's like every time that I watch this movie, like I would hope that at the end she would pick the Phantom, even though he's deformed, even though he's kind of insane, and even though he doesn't have his crap together. I felt like the Phantom. I felt like this monster that was misunderstood and just couldn't get his crap together, but like just wanted more than anything in the world to be seen and cared about and chosen. It brought up a lot of the shame that I carried that would follow me into the first weekend at the Allender Center. And it's a really sad movie. Outside of that, I was getting to know my roommate, Jana, another incredible female that has been in my life over these last few months. Just the sweetness of the interplay that we had between light and goofy to deep and intentional conversation on the couch. And Jana held it so well. I can't describe the gift that is. Jana, thank you so much for how awesome and real you are. I love you very much. When I wasn't with Jana, getting to know her and being weird as hell, I was hiking with Soleil. Our relationship started off pretty light and fun, and then I started going hiking with Soleil, and I got to know her story. Soleil, she's got a hell of a story, and I was invited into these deeper conversations that sort of molded and ensued our vision of each other. Just like stand there with awe. My goodness, you are an incredible human being. Next time, I will share a little bit about the first weekend at the Allender Center. Just to throw this out there is a very strict line of what is sacred and private about the Allender Center and time in group. So I will not be sharing anything about my time in group, but I will share sort of the feelings, and I can share a little bit of the story that I brought the first weekend. It's such a nice day out today, so if you're in Seattle, if you're in Chicago, or wherever you might be, I hope that you have a really beautiful day outside so you can go enjoy it, because that's what I'm going to do. See ya! One more thing. I just have to tell you, I've been praying for a camera for 6 months. And God answered my prayer through this person. To who you are, thank you so much that you will listen to the voice of God. Hopefully I will be shooting on it soon. Any suggestions on how to use this? It's a Canon Rebel T3i. If you have any suggestions on how to use this, I am so open to it because I don't know anything about this and I don't know anything about cameras, and I'm still trying to figure out what ISO and everything else is on this thing. So I am exhausted and overwhelmed as my body and my mind prepare for this next weekend of training from January 25th to the 28th. It will entail diving into our stories of coming to know about our sexuality and the harm that surrounds that narrative. And my dreams are getting really weird. I feel like am getting hit by a bus each morning, and my body is like that stiff. And so I'm trying to care for myself as well as I can through oils, journaling, good food, good music, a little yoga stretching. I don't have energy for too much else. I could really use some prayer for health and care. Please pray for those things. I would be so appreciative.